Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. Now, Napoli have made an inquiry for Chelsea's Nicolas Jackson in their search for a new striker. That's according to Sky in Italy. So look, Steve, Chelsea value him for £65 million. Is it right for him to leave the Premier League now, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of clubs will want a number 9. He hasn't been around at Chelsea for a while now, so I think he'll want to go and probably settle himself down and be at a club that backs him, and he's going to go and play football. So I think probably, yeah. I think he hasn't lit up the Premier League, and he'll want to now go and prove them deltas wrong and kind of push on with his career.
What about his teammate, though, Anton, Pedro Neto? What's going on with him?
Well, Sky Sports News today is brought to you by Al Hilal. Al Hilal, the club that want to do every deal within the next 2 weeks because they are interested in Pedro Neto as well. Now, we understand that Chelsea value the Portugal winger at around £100 million, and he's seen as a crucial player under the new coach because he's been a big part of the pre-season plan. So clearly, you know, he's a player they were planning to build around. But again, if they can get almost double the money they paid for him when they signed him for Wolves, I'm pretty sure they'd be very happy. But yeah, potentially £100 million for Pedro Neto seems like a heck of a lot of money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's obviously very valued at the club. But yeah, if you can get £100 million, I think Chelsea would be absolutely delighted with that. Whether or not they'll pay it or Simon dig into his pockets. But yeah, it's a lot of money for probably a winger that hasn't scored enough goals to kind of warrant that.
What about Liam Delap? So not quite £100 million. Chelsea said they want £50 million for him, but do you not think they should keep him?
I like him as a striker, yeah. I think he's got everything. He probably just needs that confidence now, that run of games. He's got energy, he's a good finisher. Obviously, he just needs to be backed, and like every footballer, they need to play with confidence. It's difficult when you're going game after game without kind of taking a chance, but I think if he gets a run of games, he'll come good for Chelsea, and I'd love to see him do well.
50 million's a lot. I think Chelsea will struggle to get 50 million potentially for Liam Delap, but every club wants a striker. And if there is a Premier League striker who's got experience at that level available in the last 2 weeks of the window, you just know clubs are going to go in for him, right?
Yeah, he's young. He's got that resale value as well. 50 million is a lot of money because he probably hasn't reached the heights that he probably expects of himself as well. But number 9s, they do carry a premium. I think if Chelsea are selling Jackson, will Delap stay? I think it'll be good to keep hold of her because I think he has got the capability to score goals in the Premier League.
Yeah, more valuable to keep hold of him. What about new manager? It's going to be quite exciting at Chelsea. So many new managers this season, 9 in fact. But how many more players are going to need to help them get back into the Champions League, or actually even, bit of a title race going on here, because I'm sure Xabi Alonso's coming here to absolutely compete, and of course he will attract the players as well, won't he?
They need to get players out first.
Well, yeah.
But potentially they've already sold £160 million worth of players during this window. And, look at that, Marc Cucurella, Andre Santos. I mean, there's £100 million plus there straight away. They could double, maybe even treble that in the next couple of weeks, if you think about it. If Enzo Fernandez goes to Manchester City for £120 million, if Pedro Neto goes for £100 million, and then you've got this raft of squad players like Liam Delap, like Nicolas Jackson, like Benoit Badiashile, like Axel Disasi. You could just go through this squad and go, well, hang on a minute, how many players are they actually going to leave? And then, well, how much money have you got in your back pocket to potentially spend in the next 2 weeks? Well, what does Xabi Alonso want? Where does he see the weak points in his squad and go, actually, do you know what? I want to bring in, let's say, a new centre-back, I want to bring in a new forward, or every club wants a new striker, right? So it's interesting. It's leaving it late, but if they can bring in another 2...
He needs to start well, really. Let's talk Chelsea, James. Pedro Neto, is he on his way out? Because he was linked with City a little while ago.
Well, there's several clubs that are interested in signing him in this transfer window, but we understand that Chelsea value Pedro Neto at close to £100 million. We've seen a few interesting valuations that Chelsea have placed on a number of their players in this transfer window. Now, we don't think that Chelsea want to sell Pedro Neto in this transfer window, which may explain why they're putting such a high valuation on him. There has been concrete interest from Al Hilal, but there have been no formal offers for Pedro Neto in this transfer window. I think Xabi Alonso really likes Neto, because we've seen in the pre-season games he's played it in a number of different positions, and actually against Real Sociedad on Saturday he started as a right wing back. Now we suspect that Chelsea will play with three at the back and wing backs. They've signed Marco Palestra, they've just signed Pep Chavaria, but very interesting, it was Pedro Neto who played as a right wing back against Real Sociedad. He actually has had a decent time of things at Chelsea after signing 2 years ago for £54 million, but an eyebrow raising fee. I don't think Chelsea wants to let him go in this transfer window.
Nicholas Jackson, do they want to let him go?
Well, I think he's someone they would consider an offer for. He wasn't part of the Chelsea squad at the weekend. It would be someone for big money as well. I know he's been with Spurs a few times over the last few windows. My understanding is that there's nothing in that. But look, he's a very good striker. And I think Xabi Alonso is getting what he wants at the moment. He was very clear when he signed Maxence Lacroix that he needed players to leave in defence, and that's been happening. I think it could be a good season for Chelsea. I really do. Again, like no European football. Just give Xabi Alonso a year just to sort things out in terms of incomings and outgoings. And if he can get a few more out, I think that squad will look okay. Because you don't really need a bloated squad when you're not in Europe.
Liam Delap, £50 million price tag round his neck there. Anyone interested?
I don't think people are queuing up at that price tag based on what we saw last season. He was very good at Ipswich the season before last, scoring more than 10 Premier League goals, and actually fast forward 12 months, if that season happened just before the World Cup year, then he'd have been right in the mix to be on the plane. But clearly he's fallen way down the pecking order at Chelsea. We understand Como are a club who have been exploring a deal to sign him, but actually Moise Keane at Fiorentina seems to be their top target when it comes to strikers in this transfer window. He is valued at £50 million. He's got 5 years left on his contract. It looks like Delap and Nicholas Jackson will leave Chelsea in the next fortnight, but it's whether or not that will be on loan or permanently. And really interesting that the likes of Tosin Adarabioyo and Mikhailo Mudryk weren't in the first team squad for that game against Sociedad on Saturday. There'll be plenty of exits at Chelsea. There's 40 senior professionals they have right now in their squad. So that will be the main story at Chelsea over the course of the next few weeks. But I think they will be alert and aware of any market opportunities as well when it comes to incomings. I don't think we can rule out more incomings at Chelsea as well.
Really? All right, but let's stay with Chelsea then. And the most expensive Premier League transfer so far this summer is, of course, the record £117 million they paid Aston Villa for Morgan Rogers. Well, Patrick Davison sat down with Rogers and asked about the move, why he chose Chelsea, and the chance to play alongside his close friend Cole Palmer.
So what was the moment or the conversation, and could be Xabi Alonso calling you, could be Reece James, could be one of your brothers, your mum, your dad. What was the conversation where you thought Chelsea?
My thing as the World Cup was going on and the summer was happening, I wanted to focus firmly on that and then kind of make my decision towards the end when I'd known who was in, known what the scenarios were, what the situations were, had the conversation with the necessary people, and then I was completely aligned and I could just make my decision and go there. So it was just about building, about making sure I was in the right headspace, in the right mind to make that decision. And I think different things, speaking to Reece, speaking to Cole, speaking to the manager, I think they were just adding on, and I was like, yeah, this is me. I think this is the right environment for me. So yeah, that was kind of how it went.
Do you sense a kind of an excitement that this group, with not as many games as you'd like, can do something maybe special?
Yeah, I feel the excitement walking in every day. I feel a positive energy and a vibe. I think a fresh manager, a fresh change of the environment, obviously new players added and stuff. I feel that everyone's excited to where it can go and where it can take it. Chelsea's a club that wants to win things, and it's a club that I've always grown up watching them win titles, win Champions Leagues, and I want to be in teams that do that as well. And I think there's a lot of players in that room that have the aspirations to do the same thing. So I'm excited, I'm positive, and I can't wait really.
I wanted to talk to you about the Cole Palmer relationship more from a footballing sense, because obviously you both have other qualities than what I'm going to reduce it to. I just sort of thought his vision.
Chelsea's transfer window is becoming less about who they can bring in and more about who needs to leave. Xabi Alonso has inherited a squad packed with talented players, but having too many options can become a problem when several players are competing for the same positions. The priority now should be creating a smaller, more balanced group that Alonso can actually manage and develop. Nicholas Jackson is one of the biggest names caught up in the situation. If Chelsea receive an offer that matches their valuation, the club could seriously consider letting him go. Pedro Neto is another player whose future has become a major talking point, with interest from outside England adding even more uncertainty. For me, Chelsea shouldn't automatically sell either player. They need to ask one simple question: will losing them make the team better or create another problem? There are also several other players whose futures could be decided before the window closes. Chelsea have spent enormous amounts building this squad, but now comes the difficult part of turning all those individual talents into an actual team. Alonso needs players who fit his football, not simply players with big reputations or expensive price tags. If a player isn't going to get regular minutes, moving him on could actually be better for everyone. Personally, I think Chelsea should focus on quality over quantity from this point. If Jackson or Neto leaves, then replacing them should only happen if Chelsea find someone who genuinely improves the squad. Otherwise, keep the money and trust the players already there. Alonso's biggest job isn't to make another blockbuster signing, it's to finally bring structure to a Chelsea squad that has had too many changes. If he gets the outgoings right, Chelsea could end up looking much stronger without necessarily signing another superstar.